Hi everybody, I'm Andrea and welcome to my booktube channel. Thank you for still sticking around if you're still here. I know I've been gone for like the longest time, but I'm happy to be back. Happy New Year, and hi to everybody that's subscribed since I've been gone. I know I recently hit 1,000 subscribers, which is so awesome because I do like 0 things to make myself irrelevant. Thank you so much, and in honor of all that, I'm actually going to be doing a book giveaway. This is going to be an international book giveaway, $25 USD and down. You have to be 18 plus to enter, and all you gotta do is make sure you're subscribed and leave a question for me down below for an upcoming Q&A video. What? Yeah, so that's all you gotta do. And this giveaway will close in 2 weeks, which is going to be the date here below, and I will find the winner or declare the winner here on video, so it'll be fun. I've just been busy. I've been busy doing things in the real world. If you guys don't know, I have a website called filmcheesman.com. This is my plug time, and I write about movies there, and I recently got accredited for Sundance, so I'm going to be part of the press corps, which is super exciting. And if you want to keep up to date with all that fun stuff, you can follow our Twitter, which is @filmcheesman, or Instagram, or it's just @filmcheesman. Yeah, I've just been busy like emailing publicists and watching screeners and all that kind of stuff, which makes me sound fancier than I am, I feel, because it's not that fancy. I think there's a kid screaming outside, by the way. And I had a really cool internship, and just there's a lot of things that happened since October. Anyways, I wanted to make a video about the good, bad, and the ugly of the books that I read in 2020. Luckily, I had a really great reading year, to be honest. I read less books than usual or in previous years, but most of the books that I did pick up were really great, so I'm excited about that. But there were a few that just didn't sit well with me, so I thought I'd talk about some of the ones that I loved and some of the ones that I hated today. I want to start with the good. So to the surprise of literally nobody, if you've been watching any of my videos, I really thought that the best book that I read in 2020 was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Mundo Garcia. I've talked about this book so many times via live stream and like on its own separate videos, so you guys can check that out. But I'm such a fan of the author's writing, and I'm super excited for the author's new book this year, which is called Velvet is the Night. First off, that title, love it. But it's like a noir, and she's really good at that kind of like thriller, like building tension type of writing, so I'm excited for that. My favorite series that I read this year was the Poppy War series. I picked it up at the start of the quarantine, and I ended it like a few days before the end of the year, and I just adored this series. I'm a really big fan of well-written female villain characters, and this book definitely brought that energy with it. It's about vengeful rage. Like, it's very cinematic, a lot of angst, a lot of yearning, a lot of like just anger in it, but like righteous anger, in the sense that the choices that each character made, for me as a reader, made complete sense, in my opinion, as to how they got there and why they got there. I feel like a lot of times in these bigger science fiction books or fantasy books, when a character is given like this big giant villain arc, you aren't necessarily given the space or time to kind of breathe with that character and really like understand why they make certain choices. And I think that we were given that in the Poppy War, so definitely check this book out, or the series out, if you haven't already. Warning, like all the trigger warnings, it is pretty dark, it's grimdark, but it's just such a complete read. You can really tell that the author planned this out very well, and that's something that I very much appreciated in this book, because especially in recent years with TV and film and that kind of stuff, I feel like I've been burned so many times with underthought like finales, and this one, it didn't do that. The darkest story that I read in 2020 is this book called Cockfight. It is translated from Spanish, and previously this was going to go to Tender as the Flesh, which I read for Latinx-a-thon, and I talked about in a previous video. But oh my god, Cockfight. It's a collection of short stories. It's very well written, by the way. That's why it's on the good list, I guess you could say. It's really beautifully written, but extremely dark. Like darker than Tender is the Flesh. There's already Tender is the Flesh is a book about cannibalism, and I think Cockfight is way more darker than that, if that tells you anything. It's basically a short story collection revolving around like different people in Ecuador, and it just follows their lives, but their lives are like in the darkest way. I know the very first story is about a woman who gets in a taxi and then she gets abducted, and she's kind of almost being human trafficked, and in order to escape being human trafficked, she decides she's going to like literally shit her pants. So she does, and that gets her out of it, and it kind of just goes on things along those lines. There's a lot of gore in it. There's a lot of instances of like rape and sexual assault and everything. Like, it's not an easy read at all, but it's one that feels so visceral in the way that the author describes things, especially like it's just nasty, just a nasty book. It's a very woman book, but it's so nasty, and it just left such an impression on me, especially since, again, I read this right after the Poppy War actually, so very recently. But yeah, I can't stop thinking about it. It's been like a month since I read it. The best nonfiction book that I read in 2020 would have to go to Dark Days by James Baldwin. This is a short story collection. It's actually a collection of 3 of his essays that kind of got bundled together. And they're all on the topic of like race relations in the US, and it's such a searing and poignant like collection, still incredibly relevant to today, and I think that everybody should read this book or this collection. Another book that I really enjoyed in 2020 that I have not talked about on here is Furia by Yamil Said Mendez. This book is great. It's a very, very, very well written YA book, and it's about this girl called Camila who is living in Argentina, and she is a soccer player, much to the annoyance / anger of her parents, so she kind of hides that side of herself from them. And she's friends with this boy who's also a soccer player, but he has gone to the professional leagues, and he plays like in Europe and that kind of stuff, and it's kind of about them too, but also her kind of realizing her own worth and finding that she doesn't really need anybody's permission to be who she wants to be in life. This year I also read a bunch of screenplays, and I want to talk a little bit about them. Some of my favorite definitely include this one, which is Get Out by Jordan Peele, and it's the annotated screenplay. And the reason why I like this screenplay so much, first off, I think the screenplay to Get Out is great in general, right? But reason why I really like this screenplay book is because you get like pictures. Do you see it? Like specific, I guess you can say, memorable pictures of scenes, and then at the back of the book there's actually footnotes that go along with them and explain why certain, you know, angles, or why certain lines, or why certain gestures or that kind of stuff were chosen, which I really appreciated because it helps get a better understanding of the film, right? And another cool thing about this one is that it also includes deleted scenes and an alternate ending to Get Out. Yeah, and plus I think that the cover is really nice. Another screenplay that I enjoyed was Fleabag, The Scriptures by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I really like Fleabag, the series, and this is basically all the screenplays of season 1 and season 2 in one collection, and it's in screenplay format, which is fun. And at the very, very, very back, you get this little thing from her which says, "Write like you're not afraid." It gives you 2 blank pages to start writing. And Fleabag is like a dark comedy, and it's one of my favorite ones because I think that it deals with grief and dealing with grief and living with grief in a very like accurate manner. I feel sometimes in TV, in series especially, the characters aren't because the characters have to move forward in their arcs or their plots, their emotions aren't given necessarily the watch minutes to actually play out how they would realistically, and that's just because, you know, TV works fast. You can't have a character crying for like 4 episodes, right? Or 10 episodes, I don't know. But I enjoyed the ways that Fleabag deals with it. I also really quickly wanted to talk about this really cool poetry collection that I read last year, and it's called Corpse Whale and is by an indigenous author who is an Alaskan native. And I really enjoyed the way that this author's book kind of melds time into their poetry. So it's talking about things in the past, present, and future in a way that feels non-linear, but also incredibly detailed. Like the way that the poetry is kind of formatted, you can see what I mean. It feels like all the time and none time at the same time, if that makes sense. And I think that the descriptions of specific animals and like landscapes is so if we were looking through a camera, it's so like what's the word, macro, micro, it focuses on those tiny little details, which I think was really cool when it's kind of paired with this idea of time being this thing you can like dip in and out of. And yeah, moving on to the bad. In my bad category, these aren't books that are necessarily bad, but they're just books that I didn't like / I didn't finish because I didn't like them. Number one on that list is A Darker Shade of Magic, which I did not actually realize I picked up in 2020. I think I picked this up in January. I've been trying for the hardest time to get into the series. Every single time I try reading it, I fail. So I can't hang with it. I can't hang with that book or Six Crows. It just immediately bores me for some reason. I think it's a nice cover though. So there's that. It has a nice font on it as well. So number two, The Book of Coley by M.R. Carey. I got this book because I am a really big fan of The Girl with All the Gifts by the same author. I really enjoyed that book. I really enjoyed the film as well. I enjoyed the prequel / the second book in the series. I really liked how the author writes, to be honest. And Book of Coley is a different series. It's the start of a different series, but it's about kind of nature attacking the world in a way that the description reminded me a lot of Annihilation, and I love Annihilation, so I thought I'd give this book a chance as well. And again, I had the same problem as Darker Shade of Magic. I don't know if it's just the year that we had in 2020 or the pandemic or whatever. I just couldn't get into it. I read like 4 pages and I quit. I quit it. Next one is Ruthless Gods by Emily A. Duncan, which is a sequel to Wicked Saints. I wasn't the biggest fan of Wicked Saints, so I don't know why I read or picked up Ruthless Gods, but I thought I'd give it a shot, and I didn't enjoy it. It's another book that I DNF'd. It's a book that I like probably got 3 chapters in and dipped from. I think I'm expecting more out of my science fiction fantasy, where I have certain standards now from science fiction fantasy, and like this book and like Darker Shade Magic and Book of Coley kind of fit different conventions. They have a different formula from what I want in my science fiction fantasy now. The next book that I did not like is Poe Dameron Freefall. I got this as an ARC on NetGalley and I did not like it. Why did I not like it? I thought this isn't actually the author's fault. This is just the direction that Lucasfilm or whatever, Disney, are taking the character. I didn't agree with it. If you're a Star Wars fan, you know that they changed or they retconned Poe Dameron's backstory from being one thing that was very like in text and comics and stuff, and they changed it for Rise of Skywalker, and they gave him like a spice runner background, which is basically like a space drug dealer almost. And so Freefall kind of is a book that's written to kind of solidify that, and I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't enjoy how much they were bringing in his love interest from Tross, which is called Zoe Bliss, which was played by the amazing Kerry Russell. But I wasn't down with the story, and that's not the author's fault. The writing's fine. I just did not like the story. I did not like how they made him like basically Han Solo 2.0, because we don't need a Han Solo when we already have Han Solo. And this has become a Star Wars rant. But anyways, yeah, those are the ones that I didn't like. And now we go to the ugly. I basically have 2 books, or technically 3 books on this list. But these are books that I thought were ugly because of the harmful portrayals they were kind of willingly willingly being ignorant of the author's part. The first one being American Dirt, which was a giant thing in January 2020. And I've seen this book in so many best of lists that I was like, I'm just gonna have it on my worst list because it doesn't deserve to be on best lists. This book, it's not even complicated, it's just so exhausting, I guess I could say. But the way the author has claimed that they wrote this book in order to create awareness, for me seems a little bit of a lie. When you have centerpieces like these and say things like these, so yeah, it's just bad. It's just a bad book. Oh, if you don't know what this book is about, this book is about a woman and her small son in Mexico that are at a quinceañera, and then they're the narcos pull up and there's like a shooting and like everybody dies, and then they have to escape by riding La Bestia into the US. So it's like a immigration story, but it's written by this woman of like dubious heritage because she's been back and forth with her roots, but it's just the way that she's dealt with it and the way that she's been celebrated with it that creates a problem, I feel. Book number 2, Woven in Moonlight, and its sequel, Written in Starlight. First off, beautiful covers. That's it. That's the only good things I have to say about this book. Cande has an amazing takedown of why this book is so harmful, and so does Lou. So I'm going to be linking those videos / blog posts because they can say it in way more eloquent words than I can. But bottom line is that this book kind of uses indigenous cultures and peoples in a really harmful way. It makes them villains to like these poor white folk, which is like, we're not down with that. It's 2020, 2021. We don't need that kind of stuff. We just don't need that energy, and I think we need to move on from books that portray marginalized communities within Latin American countries in such a negative light. Anyways, that was my good, bad, and ugly list of 2020. Definitely leave a question for me down below if you're interested in that giveaway. Once again, 18 plus, international. You got 2 weeks, and I hope to see y'all soon with a new video. I'm going to be doing 21 books in 2021 that y'all should read, so look out for that, and I hope y'all having a great day, great start to the year, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.